I think that I've always been involved in adult education because my first career was as a nurse. And patient education is key to being a nurse. And I went from the hospital into public health. And of course, public health is all about education. And so I went on and got a master's degree and a PhD and knew that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my career. I think I would tell them that it's a very broad field, and sometimes that causes confusion about the field. And so to understand that it is a broad, interdisciplinary, or I've heard the word transdisciplinary field used would help them, and that they need to find from those fields, they need to find what their passion is. Um, and and being part of AAACE for me is very key because it is an umbrella organization and it has the ability to connect with people in the areas that they're interested in and find ways to move forward in their careers. I do think that it is because it is a broad field and we have all these experts from a variety of disciplines and um, organizations and it is this umbrella where we can connect with people all around the world in different parts and have this connection about what it means to be human and what it means to continue to learn throughout our lives and adapt. Well, I think the first thing that they need to think about is, where they want to go. And in their program and in connecting with people, they need to look for experiences such as, those internships or practicums where they can get that valuable experience, just like Noel says, to be able to experience it and apply it, I think is very key. So when they can look towards those experiences, I think that that's probably the best way for them to move forward and understand how to apply it. I like to work with a variety of people, and I do like to work with adults. I'm not. I'm not, even though I am a mother and I'm supposed to be a nurturer, I like to work with grown-ups. I do. I like to work with grown-ups, and it's a helping profession in some ways. It's like my nursing career. So I get, jazzed or enthused when I help someone either, whether they're an expert in or whether they're the beginner learner. So I was just helping one of our keynotes right now to use a software platform, and we sat down and learned it together. And it was so wonderful for me to have this person that I look up to need me, to help them with this small part of providing the information to the rest of the folks. So that those moments, those teachable moments, are so great for me. I think there's this idea that adult education is adult basic education only, or GED. Um, it is so obviously so much more than that. I've said it, several times during this interview, but it's not. It's about lifelong learning. And I think because the baby boomer population is living longer now, staying in the workplace, being involved in different areas, I think that we're moving away from that perception. And so I'm looking forward to what's going to be happening with that in terms of lifelong learning. Well, there's so many to choose from, but for me, I think that Malcolm Knowles and his seminal work in terms of the adult learner and his principles, the idea of andragogy, are just really the basis for me for adult learning. I do think the forming of our professional association, which was first the Adult Learner Association, ADA at that time, becoming AAACE, the American Association of Adult and Continuing Education, and making us a profession, has been also seminal. And recently, there's a new group that has formed, which is the National Adult Learner Coalition. And I look forward to what's going to be happening with them, and hopefully AAAC being involved, because there's the folks at the national level. I believe that UPASIA is involved in it, and CALE, a couple other organizations. I'd like to see AAACE become a part of that too, because I think it is a way forward for us. Malcolm Knowles, it's the adult learner. Yes, I would recommend the book. I would recommend would be Malcolm Knowles. I believe we're in the seventh edition now with Swanson and Holton. I think that is the piece of literature to read. And then of course there's a few others out there. The other books would be by Raymond Wilkowski, in terms of enhancing adult learner motivation, right? Enhancing the adult learner motivation. And Peter Jarvis has a book out there too, which is called the Adult Learner and Lifelong Learning, I believe. So my research has really been in terms of distance learning and online learning, because I've been teaching online since 1995. So I was interested in that because I worked for the University of Maryland Asian Division, and they worked with the military population, and they tried to reach people in remote locations and things like that. So online learning and distance learning has become much more than that, obviously, in terms of the technologies that we have. And so that's my passion in terms of sort of online blended learning now. I've also done some work in terms of faculty collaboration, the idea of professional identity, and faculty development. I think that the future of adult education is tied up in this idea of lifelong learning and really understanding sort of the human development process, right? Because I said earlier that we have these baby boomers, but we also have the millennials, and I think there's some misunderstanding. I was having a great conversation yesterday that millennials do understand how to learn, and they're so smart about using technologies. And I think that adult education is just primed for this, because understanding the adult learner and sort of where they're at, their experiences, how to apply that information, and there's this whole spectrum, right? And so digital technologies are going to continue to come into our lives, and so we have to teach people how to learn to use them. And so we can't just assume that they understand those digital resources and what they mean in terms of their lifelong learning. And so I really feel a passion about like online learning, blended learning, and understanding digital literacy in terms of that. My colleague and I did some research about some of this, and there's been different words out there in terms of understanding the difference between pedagogy and andragogy, right? And we feel that there is this transition phase before you become a true adult learner, that you are perhaps in a transition phase. And I think there's been other words out there, but we labeled it chuagogy, in terms of the idea of of the college learner or the post-secondary learner when they transition from the K-12 environment into their next post-secondary environment, and before they can actually move to be an andragogical learner or andragogical learner, they have to go through this transition phase of being able to understand themselves and how to learn. And we called that shuagogi. Yeah, so shuagogi is it's a Swahili, it's a Swazi word for college, and so we were working in South Africa, and so it just felt very good. You know, the Shua felt very good and easy to use in terms of pedagogy and andragogy. Andragogy, excuse me. Oh, triple ACE, American Association of Adult and Continuing Education. It is the organization to begin your networking. As a graduate student, we have a commission now where you can have the ability to provide input into the organization, to understand what the organization is about, to network. And so, it is where we bring all of the professionals who are involved in adult learning together in one place and can make a difference in terms of our voice and values. Yes, so it's just the idea of the shuagogi that I told you, that there's this, where is this transition where they become that self-directed learner? So we have to teach people how to be self-directed. So we can give them, somewhat, for instance, right, they may know how to use the technology. They can log into Canvas. They know how to create a login. They know how to read the text online. They may even know how to download a piece of paper, something, a document, whatever. But do they understand how to use that information to learn? They can click, they can Google it, they can go to a website, but they really need to understand what are those steps in terms of how to critically think and reflect. And I think that that is what is sort of missing in terms of the learner, in terms of the online learner. It's not, you just don't go to this website. You just don't post 7 times. You don't just perhaps take an online quiz. It's, what does that mean as a coherent piece of curriculum? So I think that that's what's been missing in terms of online learning. I don't feel that, Michael Moore was where I based my dissertation research on, and it was on online learning and student interaction. And he came up with 3 different pieces in terms of interaction. There's the learner instructor, learner learner, and learner content. And so I looked at a 4th piece, which was the learner with the media, and that still hasn't really been picked up in terms of understanding how to use those tools, how to learn. So that is a critical piece. I think it's not just about um, just being able to click somewhere. And I think that that's missing, and that's why I think that it's vital that we teach these learners who are moving into the post-secondary environment how to use digital resources to learn, and that shuagogi piece in terms of, how do you learn? I don't think they're getting it in K through 12 at all about how to learn. And so I think it's our role as adult learners to create the ability to be lifelong learners, but they have to be able to understand that. I think Moore also talked about transactional distance or transactional distance, or I forget, I think that's what it was, that the learner is separated. But I think it's not just about being separated and connected. I think it still goes back to being that self-directed learner and being able to teach them how to become self-directed, self-regulated, self-motivated. And it goes to motivation too, which is, Wildkowski's, being able to meet the learner where they're at, so to speak. So I love my international work. So it it got started because of AAA. So because I was able to work in terms of connecting with partners all across the world. And, we have components of adult learning in the European Union, in the UK, and South America, and everything like that. So we want to be able to do collaborations. And it's not just, at an individual, faculty collaboration. It's organization to organization. And so that's how I got involved in terms of partnership. And so I was on the AAACE as the Commission of Affiliated Organizations, and I worked with Dr. Alan Knox and Steve Fry, and we decided to try to build a partnership with UCAN, which is the European University Continuing Education Network, and also some folks in Ireland. And there was a conference over there, and I went to that conference and met people from all over the UCAN conference, and we eventually signed a partnership with them. So the partnerships are they're at the infancy level, I think, for AAACE right now, except for with COABE, where we have a historical relationship with the COABE, which is the Coalition of Adult Basic Education, right? So I was able to meet with folks over there, and in Ireland, and I started doing some research with them because because of AAAC, I was able to network, develop my professional work, meet with people at this conference, and now I'm looking at developing work around professional identity and faculty development with some colleagues in Ireland. We're going to work on some things related to teacher basic education because they have where folks can become their teachers. They can become teachers if they've been a professional. So they already have a 4-year degree, and they can go into this program, and they can come. I mean, we're just, we have to go to a different route in terms of K through 12 education. And so I'm doing some work with them in terms of their online learning and their distance learning and remote learning. We're going to do some surveys and things like that. So it's moved beyond the collaborative part. So I love it. I feel very lucky to work in this field. I get to meet and work with a lot of people who really care about the adult learner. I want to say thank you to the Whitties for giving me the opportunity to become a tenure. Or first, I was a clinical professor and a tenure track professor, but they really made it possible, and they make adult educators available to the rest of the world because of their program.
First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of the interview series. We're so honored to have you here, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this for us.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah.